So to refurbish this Fullex SL16 Crimebeater lock using the parts from the refurb kit, we're going to begin by removing the gearbox. There's a couple of things to note on this mechanism. First of all is that the Crimebeater is a fairly easily identifiable and unique lock. It has this small cutout at the top and a double spindle configuration similar to what you see on a Lockmaster, but it has a different type of fixing. These are a square drive fixing screw that holds all of the components onto the faceplate. These screws are not just a square drive, they also feature a countersink, and the countersunk head has like ratcheting teeth on the back of it that purchase when they're tightened and make it quite difficult to get them out. So you may find these screws are rather tight when removing them. So it is important to always use the right drive, because you will easily round these screws out using anything but the correct square security bit. So if you have a bit set, you'll usually find that your bit set contains these square drive security bits. Make sure you definitely get one that fits tight, and don't be surprised if these screws are in very, very firmly. So we'll begin with the top fixing on the gearbox. They're also quite long screws, and they are tightened up quite well at the factory. So often it's the central one that's tight on these. This is a latch and deadbolt case, again double spindle, and these are commonly found in 35 and 45mm back sets. The variant we have here is a 45mm back set variant. So you've got 3 of these square drive security screws, and we can remove our gearbox. Now, depending on which model of lock you have, these rails that connect the top and bottom hook cases are totally non-captive. They will just fall off once we've removed our locking point. So just bear that in mind and make note of what way around they go, with the 90-degree returns facing backwards and being at the gearbox end of the rod. And we'll then move on to our top hook case. So this is our hook case. This is a 2-hook mechanism, again with these square drive security screws. As I say, once this screws out and this hook case is removed, that drive rod will completely fall away from the mechanism. There it is. So make note of where that goes for reassembly. And we can move on to our bottom hook case, and it's the same situation here. I'll just show you one of these screws so you see they have this toothed countersink to them, which is what grips in and makes them fairly stubborn when they're tightened at the factory. Again, when we remove our hook case here, expect that drive rod to completely fall away, and just make note of how it was located on the hook case, which is like this. This is how it will be going back. So we can now move on to the kit's components in our refurb kit. So as expected then, in our refurb kit we will have a central gearbox. This is a double spindle type gearbox with a latch and deadbolt. We have our bottom hook case and our top hook case, and these are large hook cases, and there are 7 of these square drive security screws needed to fix these components to our faceplate. And these are all of equal length. There's no odd length screws here or screws specific for a certain position. 7 of the same screw, hook case, central gearbox. So we will now start reassembly with the central gearbox from our kit, and with the gearbox on its back, latch and deadbolt facing up and in the unlocked position, the easiest way to go about doing this is to first position your top and bottom drive rods with that 90-degree return where they need to be, and sort of suspend those there. And once they're in the right position, we can then lay our faceplate over the top with the latch aperture just locating over the latch bolt, and drop that on. There we go, and just manipulate it so that it sits nice and flush. And once that's where it needs to be, we'll get our top fixing in first. And then our bottom fixing. Once they're in, we know that our drive rods are retained in the correct positions. And we can put our central fixing in. Stop the faceplate bowing in the middle. Remember not to over tighten any of these fixing screws. And we can move on to our top hook case. So our top hook case, as you can see, is going to be a downwards facing hook. And we know that because this T section of connecting rod has to sit in one of these sets of grooves here, these sets of cutouts, notches, and we can see that it's closest to the aperture for the hook bolt. So there's our hook bolt, and that's what lines up. If it was an upwards hook, then that T section would be far too high to pick up on our notches in the unlocked position. So that's the way around it needs to go. So again, we'll sit that and drop our faceplate over the top and line that T section up with the notches in the operating rods, like that. And then once that's sitting flush, get our bottom fixing screw in. And then our top fixing screw for our top hook case. Again, all of these screws are the same style and length of screw, so we can now repeat this process for our bottom hook case. So same deal here, except we know in this case that we can't use this set of notches, so it can't go this way up, because our T section is a bit further from our window, from our aperture. So it's this set of notches we're going to locate on the T-bar so that the window lines up with the hook bolt. So with that sitting, again, we will lay our lock over the top and locate that drive. And once that's sitting in, our faceplate sits flush over the top, and we get our bottom, our top fixing in of our bottom hook case. And then finally our bottommost fixing of our bottom hook case. And our refurbished SL16 Crimebeater using the components from the Crimebeater refurb kit.